Today we'll be covering Dataedo 9.1. We'll give a bit of an overview for those of you who may be new. We have a mix of everyone in here today. So we have everyone from current customers to people who are exploring Dataedo within their organization. So we're excited to just cover end-to-end, not only what we have, but what we just released with Dataedo community and the documentation of data lakes. So we will cover this, we'll cover future roadmap. So we've got a bit of everything that we're going to cover today. But for the agenda, we'll start off again by what is Dataedo. So this may be a refresher for the majority of you. But for some of you, it'll be new and good way for you to learn about us. Then we'll go into data community. And that's made up of commenting and questioning, rating, and warnings. Then editing within the web, which is another addition that we're very excited about that we've been long awaiting. And then we will cover documenting JSON, XML, CSV files, and then NoSQL, and then what you need to get started. So whether you're a current customer or exploring this, what you'll need to go ahead and get started with Dataedo and 9.1. Then we'll go into the future roadmap, so things that we are planning, things that we're really excited about, more awesome features for our customers. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A. But as you go through, if you have any questions on anything that we're speaking of, go ahead and hit questions, and we'll address those at the end. But as we go out through the webinar, feel free to put those in there, and we will address those. We will also have a poll towards the end, 2 polls, I believe. So if you will just keep an eye out for the polls tab, I'll let you know when that's available. And it'd be great to have your feedback, guys. So if you would, keep an eye out for that, and we will go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks, Chase, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Piotr Kononov. I'm the CEO and founder of Dataedo, and I'll give you an overview of what's new in 9.1. So a quick refresher for people who are new to Dataedo, who are just exploring and maybe forgot. Dataedo is a data catalog or metadata repository, and that helps you document your data. So catalog and document your data so that it's easier to find it, understand the data, and then finally trust it. So that's for the reminder for the people who are not using this daily. So the major new functionality that we introduced in 9.1 is data community. This is a part of the web catalog. So this is our flagship user interface. Not all of you are familiar with that. So let me give you a quick overview of the web. So web is a live web application that you hosted on your infrastructure. And that's your gateway to your data. It gives you access to your business glossary, to the data cataloged in the metadata repository. So you can find, explore the tables and the columns. Let's have a look at some table. When you click on the specific table, you can see its columns and all the descriptions, all the additional fields. You can see how it's related to other tables in the catalog. Let's have a look. So that's the scope we already had for the past 2 months, and today I'll show you our new module, which is the community, which helps you collaborate more efficiently with this web application. So let's have a look at the comments and questions first. When you browse the catalog, you might notice that some of the columns have a comment icon next to it. So that means that there's some collaboration, some comments linked to this column. When you click on that, you will be transferred to the community tab, where you can see what what was being said. So it looks like it works like any social media. So you can create a thread, and then people contribute to that thread. So if you'd like to take some, say something about that, just press a comment button, and so yeah, that works pretty much like the social media platforms. So we have different kinds of threads, and you can assign them. You can they are linked to the specific data asset. So in this case, it's about column. If you'd like to see all the columns, all the comments related to particular table, you can go to the community tab of this table, and you'll see which column this applies to, right? So there's a summary. Also, there's a summary of all the community activity in the entire repository. So you can see what's the latest in all the different kinds of about all the data, what's the community doing, and what they're talking about. So let's get back to our column. Let's have a look at this one. There's a question. So question is a bit different than generic comment. Questions can be answered and then closed, or closed just without answering. So in this case, we can have a discussion just like the usual thread, but we can also close it. That will make this icon disappear, and this question is archived, but it's not visible as open question. I can reopen that, right, and it's back over here. So that's those are questions and comments. Let's move on and have a look at the rating. Next to the columns, you will see some of them have stars with numbers. So this is a commenting, rating functionality, just like the one from I don't know, movie reviews websites, right? So in this case, I can see which columns are regarded by the community as reliable and which are not so much. If I'd like to rate a particular column, I can click here, provide my rating, and then provide a comment as well, right? Let's say that it's so. If I save, this will be saved next to the this column, and I can have a look. If I go to the ratings tab or all tab, I will see the rating and my comment, right? And then when that happened. Yeah, and then you can rate anything in the repository. So columns, tables, modules, which are now called subject areas, databases, glossary terms, and so on. Yeah, so that's rating. And let's have a look at the last one I'd like to talk to you about today, which are warnings. So warnings are slightly different than the previous ones. They have the similar logic. However, let's go back to this table. You will notice that there's a warning icon. This means there's something I should be aware of, something I should have in mind. And when I click that, let's see, and I can see that data in facts column is not reliable. Yeah, I can see, expand here to see the discussion. You can see that it's been taken place for a year already, and someone raised that it's not reliable, and we plan to cleanse it. So let's say I just cleanse it, and I can say, okay, it's cleansed. I just cleansed it, right? We just had this initiative of cleansing this column, right? I can save it and I can close it. This means it disappears from the icon and from the table level, and also from this column. right? So this is a different way of flagging some things so that everyone who's looking at the stable will be aware of. Okay, so that was the community functionality. Let's talk about the benefits. Why is that important in the first place? So first point is that it improves your communication. Instead of using my email, Teams, different kinds of channels, you can talk directly about the data in the context of that data. Yeah, and the next point is it improves the documentation. So right now you probably produce, there are some people who produce documentation, and there are consumers, and there's way more consumers than creators. And if someone notices something is inaccurate, out of date, incomplete, it makes it difficult to provide a feedback, to have a process of maintaining that. And the community functionality gives you an opportunity an easy way to flag those issues with the documentation right next to the descriptions, or the tables or columns. And then yeah, you could use those warnings, for instance, and with option to close it, you will see the stewards will get a feedback from the community, and also those comments are also some form of the documentation itself. So everyone can contribute to the documentation and share findings. Then there's the data productivity. People don't have to ask questions on the same ask the same question multiple times. They can just use, just like Stack Overflow. You can check in the community if someone has had similar issue. Then capturing the tribal knowledge. You can give everyone a voice, everyone in your team, so everyone can share what they know, and that becomes the knowledge of the tribe rather than those particular people. Then there's data literacy and democratization. So you give everyone a voice, and you can educate everyone, everyone on your team, in your organization. And finally, that you increase the trust in the data. So people can see those ratings. People can see warnings. They can see what other people are saying about this particular data set. So that gives them more trust into what they are looking at. Okay, so that was the community functionality. Chase, do we have any questions to that part?
Yes, we do. So we have one main one. Let me make sure there's not one in the bottom. All right, cool. So one question we have is, which data sources can we scan? AWS, S3, Data Parquet, CSV, JSON format. And then they also asked about HANA databases, ERP, R3, and SAP systems.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Yeah, this does not apply to the community, so we can come back to that.
Yeah, that's the only one that we had.
Okay, so let's move on to the editing web. So till now, everything had to be edited using desktop, and we have provided the capability to edit all the descriptions, titles, custom fields directly in the web. This functionality is available to everyone who is a data steward, so they have an enterprise license. Let's have a look how it works. You can see that this is a regular view mode, and I can edit those descriptions or titles when I switch to editing mode. So now all that fields are just text fields. So if I save, it's immediately saved to the repository. If I exit this mode, you will see that it's been saved. So it makes it easier to to fix all the descriptions when you see them, when you browse the catalog and you see something you'd like to add. It makes it so much easier. And also it's convenient for Mac users. They can provide the comments on Mac as well, because desktop uses Windows. Some of the functionalities like business glossary and subject areas still require desktop. However, we are working on it, and in a couple of months we'll be migrating that functionality as well. And at some point, web will be enough to do everything, or at least majority. Okay, so that was that. Let's talk about the other flagship feature, which is the ability to document files such as JSON, XML, and CSV. I believe that's partly the answer to that question. So we have added option to edit the 3 of those. And we will be working on the Parquet, Org, Avro, and some other formats soon. So just a reminder, these are the sources that we support right now. Most of them are relational. And recently we added support for NoSQL databases such as MongoDB and BigQuery, which I suppose you can also call NoSQL, and Cassandra as well. So we are expanding to NoSQL domain as well. And today we added, well, actually, last week we added the option to document the files, so you can use it to document your data lakes. So we can read the file and add it to the repository. So let's have a look how that works. So till now, you probably know this section with the tables. So this is what was extracted from the data source from your database, and now we have added a folder called structures, and this is where you can upload your all kinds of files. So CSV, for instance, right? It looks just like the table in this case. You can also register the XML files. You can see that we discovered the structure and different types of fields. So some, this is a collection of documents. This is a string field, and so on. And yeah, we scan this structure and allow you to describe this using existing functionalities of descriptions, titles, and so on. Okay, so how do you add this the CSV or JSON files? You go to the structures, or you can do it over here as well. You choose add object and add import structure. So if you choose that, you have 3 options. You can design manually. This works just like you would design a table in Dataedo or any other software. You can describe the structure over here, but that would be time consuming. It's so much easier to either paste the document or import from the file. So let's have a look at the importing. So I choose this option and I click browse. To browse, choose the file or files from the disk. So let's have a look at Fortune 500 CSV. It detected that this is CSV, but I can enforce the format. I click import, and yeah, I already have that, but that doesn't matter. So it scanned this document. It opened the file, and it detected columns of the CSV and its data types. So this worked out well because this CSV has a header row. So we have names. And it tried to guess the data type, right? So we can see that the rank is actually the integer, and this is string, and so on. However, all of this can be edited here. So it's just a guess with CSV. CSV has no structure. I mean, no enforced structure. It doesn't have to have table and column names. So I can change all that. If I choose not to, I can just leave it as it is. And yeah, I can give it a name of my choice. By default, this is the name of the file. So when I save it, right, I have another structure, and I can document it just like anything else. I can do a similar thing with JSONs and XMLs. Let's have a look at some JSON file, right? And it detected the structure as well. As you can see, it's much more complex, much bigger. Let's save that. And same story. This one's much bigger. Yeah, you can see that all the fields have been imported, and I can document that. Okay, so that's how you do for all the field, all the file types, CSV and JSON, same thing. Now let's have a look at how you can use that to document NoSQL in SQL databases. It's quite popular for the database architects to upload JSON files, so semi-structured documents such as JSON. In the older days, that was XML, but these days it's usually JSON to a single field. So you sort of have a relational database, but not really, because the majority of the data and the structure sits in just one column or a bunch of columns. In this case, that's a payload and event type. So if I look at the documentation of this table, then it looks, it's just one field, right? It doesn't tell me anything. So what I have done, yeah, let's switch to the exported document. I have prepared that before the webinar. So what I do, I extract, I copy one of the fields, just any of those is enough. What I then can do is to add this structure as, and I choose paste option, and when I save it, it adds me a structure, and then I can go to this table, and I can link that structure with add relation. So I pretend it's a reference. However, it will represent the document embedded, so like the structure embedded in the column. Yeah, let's choose what I already imported. Let's say that this file was this document. I can choose any column. It doesn't really matter which column. Let's use ID. When I save it, you will see it as a reference to the JSON document, and in your documentation it looks like this. So that's my table. It's a varchar. You can see the description that there's a JSON file, but it doesn't tell me much. But right now I can see the two reference documents, and when I click, I have the structure of that document. I can describe every field. I can also see where it's being used. So that gives me an option to very easily document JSON and XML columns inside the database. Okay, so that was that. So let's talk now, Chase. This is your part. Yep. What do you need to use that?
Essentially, if you want to begin working with data lakes and documenting there, you must have Dataedo Pro 9.1. So that everything must be updated. So if you haven't already in your current user, you'll have to go ahead and update there. To use the data community and web catalog, you'll need an IIS server and web catalog application. Now on the licensing side, you will have to have at least one enterprise license and then at least 10 Dataedo viewers to have access to the community and web catalog. And these are all by named user. So The Dataedo Enterprise license is $1,908 per user per year. And then the Dataedo Viewer is $96 per user per year. You can use it on as many devices. You can connect to as many sources. All of our licensing is by named user. And so what's next? So depending on where you're at, whether you're a customer or whether you are kind of just exploring Dataedo, there are a few different ways to get started. So again, if you are a current user, all you have to do is upgrade. And then if you need to add on those additional viewer licenses, so if you're only using the Pro or Enterprise, if you're using a Pro, you will have to upgrade to the Enterprise. And if you have the Enterprise to access the web catalog, you have that built into your Enterprise license. But if you want to share that with people, you will have to go ahead and purchase the viewer licenses so that you can share that with your community. And then if you are on the other side of where you're just looking at Dataedo, the first step is usually to take the trial. So get your hands within the tool and try things out on that aspect. And then we did recently launch something that's been has been heavily adopted within the community of the proof of concept package. And so this is a 3-month period. So where if you're exploring Dataedo and you're not ready to jump into a full year license, you're not exactly sure how many users you'll have, or the expansion within your organization, you just want to have that proof of concept to make sure that it's going to be utilized. We do have the proof of concept package, which is the 3-month unlimited plan, and we've limited this to 1 time per organization. But it's for $999, and you have unlimited users, unlimited viewers, just to really allow you to get a grasp on exactly what you need. And so there's a resource as well. And then talk to us. So if you have any questions, if you need to upgrade, if you need to, custom pricing, we're always here to talk about whatever your need is. So feel free to book a meeting on the website.
Okay, I'd like to talk about the roadmap, what we are planning for the development of that. So the data lakes, we want to add support for more formats, and we want to add support for all those big data formats, such as Apache Avro, Apache Parquet, Apache Orc, and then there's new Delta Lake format. We also are working on the support for Excel files, so you'll be able to point to your Excel spreadsheet, and all the tables defined in that spreadsheet will be imported similarly to CSV file. Then for the community, we want to improve the experience. So we would like to add the option to follow certain objects so that you will be able to receive email notifications if so let's say you would like to know that there's a new comment or question to a particular database, then you will be able to follow that database and comment to any column table in that database. It will trigger a notification for you. Then we also like to add the easy self-service setup of the user accounts. Right now, the admin has to add them to the catalog. For small communities, it's okay, but we'd like to make it easier to so that users can register on their own. And also, we'd like to add support for external authentication and single sign-on, such as Okta or Active Directory. Also, unrelated to those features presented right now, we are working on option to publish the documentation, so the HTML documentation on our website. So this will be secured. So it's you don't need to have an infrastructure. You don't need to secure it on your own. We will build. Will allow you to host it into your special space where you can define who has access to that, and we have a built-in authentication using Microsoft and Google, so you can make sure that only specific people get access to that, and you can share multiple different documentations. Another thing we're working on is data profiling. This is a sneak peek of this functionality. You can scan the database, the table, right, a particular table or a particular column, to see what's inside, how many null values there are, how many distinct values there are, what's the distribution of values, so such as mean, max, and average values. You can see also top values and what's the how popular they are. Yeah, so this can be then saved in the repository or just looked at for the documentation purposes. And if they are saved, then every user will be able to familiarize, understand the column, the data in the column. Paul, Chase?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll take that one. So, guys, we're about to make a poll live before we get into the questions. And the first poll is, are you interested in web cataloging and data community? And essentially, this is to let us know on our end who we need to provide resources for. So who do we need to get more material? Who do we need to have discussions of what you need, whether that's more viewer licenses, an upgrade, or just helping you update Dataedo, whatever you need. This just helps us to prioritize and make sure that we are able to help those who need. And so I'm making this poll live now, and it'll be in the third tab on the top right beside the questions. And so guys, if you will, this will be up for the remaining time in the webinar. But if you will put your feedback there, it'd be great to hear that. So I'll leave that up just so that you guys can get started there. And then again, this will be up throughout the end of the webinar, so feel free to provide your feedback there. And I guess we have another poll, correct?
Yeah, we don't have a slide for that, I suppose.
Perfect. So I'm going to make the other poll live, which is essentially how large is your data community? And this is just, from the research perspective of our side of learning, what data communities look like within organizations that we work with or that are exploring Dataedo. And so if you will provide that feedback there as well, it allows us to really have a better understanding of you guys. And so that one is live as well. Looks like we have a bit of feedback in the chat. So while you guys are filling out the poll, Piotr Indra said it would be great if we could also show data sample for data profiling. And then Mark said that he had a user request this as well.
Data sample. So these are the values. So this is a task ID column, and you can see the top 10 values. You will be able to switch that to top 100 values. And also all values or random values. If this is some sort of unique column, then so that will be in fact the sample of that column. Does that solve
Mark,
the
does that help? Yes, it says thanks, so I'm assuming we're good to go. And then they say, okay. Can you choose to show which values are sensitive PII?
Yeah. So let's go back to the web. We have a fields for that. So using custom fields, you can describe any kind of information like that that you like, and we have a built-in fields for GDPR and PII. In this case, you can see that this is regarded as personal data, and there's a type of the data, and you will be able to choose in that screen which fields you'd like to save, right? Let's say there's an emails, so you will not like to include those emails, right? You can watch that when you're analyzing and documenting the column, but you can then choose which values you'd like to save in the repository using that classification. So yeah, there will be support for that.
Perfect. All right, and we do have a few questions. Everyone, poll is still live, so if you haven't, continue to put those in there. That would be fantastic. And then for the remaining questions, we're going to go ahead and get started on those. So if you will, place those in the questions tab, and we will continue to run through this list. I believe you have some in the chat, so I'll come back to those here at the end. But the first question, Piotr, again, is surrounding the which data sources we can scan. And I believe we covered majority of the new updated ones from that list.
Are we talking about this functionality, so profiling?
No. There, I believe.
Are we talking?
Speaking of just in general of sources we support. And so what I'll do is I'll read some of the ones that they listed. So AWS, S3, and Data Parquet.
So Parquet is on the roadmap. S3 is a data lake from Amazon. We do not connect to that in particular, but if you'd like to document the data stored there, you can just download it to your disk and then point to using desktop, right? So that's yeah, that's not that inconvenient, I suppose.
Yeah. And then we covered CSV and JSON. And so the next one was HANA databases, ERP, R3, SAP systems.
So SAP, yeah. SAP HANA, we don't have that on the list. We don't have a native connector. However, we have an ODBC connector, which allows you to connect to any data source. The difference is that it doesn't support all of the metadata. Some of the metadata might not be included. It depends on the driver, such as view scripts or some relations might not be visible. But for tables and columns and data types, you can use ODBC.
Perfect. And then can you please clarify licensing for web edits? So I believe the question here, so if you are editing within the web catalog, you will have to have the Dataedo Enterprise license. So you have to have an editor's license to edit in the web catalog. Now, if you are viewing and commenting or tagging, you can only have the viewer license and then ask questions, comment, and be a part of the community. But to actually change the descriptions, you must have the enterprise license. And then Alan asks, where will this be hosted? So what cloud service?
This is on premises. You can host. You need to host it in your own infrastructure. So you can use on-premises service. You can use any cloud provider because that requires IaaS and SQL Server. You can host that anywhere you like.
And I believe that he asked that specifically when we were speaking about the Dataedo Online.
Online, you were talking about this function.
Alan, traditionally everything's stored in your environment, but yes. So Alan asked that. I noticed it. He asked that when we were speaking of publishing online.
We have our own provider. It's Cloudways, and we think we might also use Amazon for that. Yeah, if that was the question.
Perfect. Yeah. And then Alan asks, will the local desktop version still be offered, or will this be phasing out?
No, we don't. We're not planning to phase that out. Maybe in a couple of years. Yeah, but we're not planning to stop support for that. We are just planning to make it an optional. So add as much to the web as possible, but still desktop is more useful for some of the use cases. It's more convenient sometimes to edit some descriptions and so on.
Perfect. And then Alan also said where he works, they have 2 logins, one for day-to-day work and one for raised permissions. will he need 2 licenses, or will he be classified as one person? Currently, he has to use 2 licenses.
Yeah, I mean, well, we just want to charge any actual user, right? And if you need to have 2 logins for some reason, we can find some workaround on that on our end. That's, yeah, we did that in the past, so we are just charging for a actual person.
Yeah, Alan. So if you want to just shoot us an email about that, we can make sure you're taken care of. Yeah, we want to make sure that it's by named user rather than what you're using it. So John asked, we have a CSV file with glossary of terms information. And then he said the columns, glossary name, and description. Is there a method for pulling this data to Dataedo through CSV?
Well, yes and no. There's nothing built in specifically for that. We're planning to add that because that it's raised more often. You can do it either you're on your own with the database tools populating a specific table. I think it's called glossary. Yeah, well, actually, we can check that, right? So I can show you that our database is documented. So we have a documentation in every repository. There's a documentation of that. So actually, that's a good use case of Dataedo. So I would like to learn where the business glossary table is. So I go to the business glossary module. I can see that this is the terms are sitting in here in glossary terms table, and that I just need. Yeah, so if I read that, I will learn that I have to populate the title, description, and the database ID. So if you could do it on your own, that's fine. If you cannot, we will be happy to help you with that, because that's a pretty simple insert to the table.
Fantastic. And so Barry asked, are there any plans on the roadmap to make it possible to view reference data lookups and the data lineage capability?
Yeah, there are. So reference data lookups is the next feature we're planning after the data profiling. Data profiling, what you're seeing here is our development, the software. So it actually exists. It's not it was not drawn. It's the actual software. So I'm guessing a month or 2 months ahead, and after that we are adding those lookups based on that. So based on the information you extract, you will be able to build lookups. I mean, for task ID it doesn't make sense, but for anything like priority or something like organization ID, for instance, you'll be able to build lookups and then provide descriptions and other fields. So a couple of months ahead, and the lineage. That's probably closer to the end of the year, but that's on the roadmap as well. We want to provide a manual option to register different kinds of entities, assets in your infrastructure. So, I don't know, such as file, user, report, different kinds of entities, and then point the flows, explain the flows using the the arrows, right? So yeah, that's planned more closer to the end of the year.
Perfect. And so looking here, I believe that's all the questions in the questions tab. We have a few in the chat, so if you will, if there are any remaining, go ahead and put those in the questions tab. Piotr Indra also mentioned, she said she trialed the version of Dataedo, but unfortunately was not able to connect from Microsoft PDW and APS. So it would be great if we could support that in the future.
Parallel warehouse. Yeah, it's we have a support for if I'm not mistaken, so this is I think it's called Azure Signups. It's the same thing as Parallel Data Warehouse. However, Parallel Data Warehouse is the on-premises version. They are based off the same engine, so SQL Server and Azure SQL, but for some reason the Parallel is not doesn't work. And for us, it's impossible to duplicate the environment because it costs a fortune. It requires a server and very expensive licensing.
That makes sense. And so I'm looking here. I believe we covered all of the other questions. We'll give it another moment. Indra said they tried using Azure Synapse connector, but it didn't work.
Oh, that's surprising. It would be great to hear more about the error, or because it did work. They recently changed the name, and they added some functionalities of Spark, I suppose. So maybe we did not support some new features. We would have to look into that.
Yeah, worth noting. Thank you, Indra. We really appreciate that feedback. And then I don't see any other questions, so I believe, Piotr, we may be good to wrap up.
Okay.
And again, as always, if you have any other questions or need anything from our end, feel free to reach out. We do have live chat on our website. It's always accessible. We monitor that heavily, and our team on that is awesome. We also have, you're able to reach out via email. All emails are posted on the website. You have them here as well if you need that. And you're always able to set a meeting with us if you need to talk. So anything you need, we're here. Just use us as a resource. But as for today, we're excited for 9.1 and that's been released. And if you have any additional questions, let us know. But Piotr, thank you for running us through it.
Thanks, Chase, and thanks everyone. It was great to be here today.
Absolutely. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks.